that sharing that kind of information in public could endanger American military personnel.
So the information shared on Signal was so confidential, so technical, so dangerous, that Jeffrey Goldberg, in a follow-up article, published the entirety of the chat. Goldberg provided images of the text group, including the war plans, now downgraded to attack plans. And as you'll see, Goldberg's description was exaggerated.
He was texting attack plans, when targets were going to be targeted.
While Hegseth texted when targets were going to be hit, he doesn't reveal locations of those targets, let alone what those targets actually were.
I think what he fails to realize is that the anti-air capabilities that can hit American aircraft, they've hit Reaper drones. The chat also discusses eyewitnessing seeing the target go into a specific building. So after the target is struck, guess what happens if this information gets out? They're going to go around looking for who was the eyewitness, what the target is. The enemy could have known what was coming and when it was coming. They have anti-air capabilities. They have radar. They can move things around.
How they were going to be targeted.
How includes F-18s, MQ-9 strike drones, bombs, and sea-based Tomahawk missiles.
Who was at the targets.
The only description of subjects targeted was terrorist, and at one target, not targets. And who was it exactly? Couldn't tell you. But it was presumably a Houthi, so it could have been one of hundreds of thousands of terrorists.
What you're saying is that the U.S. gave out information that could have been used in Yemen, where the Houthis operate, which is on the west coast. With this kind of information, the enemy would clearly move anti-air assets and prepare them for the attack. They had 2 hours of warning if it would have got out. Potential high priority targets would be moved or prepared or defended in some way. It's not like it's just 100,000 troops out and about and everyone that you kill is a big deal. Houthis knowing this would have pulled an LLC, would have moved all of their assets that they could have. L for leadership, L for logistics, and C for capabilities. They would have defended all of these at all costs. And he knows this.
And yet Goldberg went on national television and lied through his teeth.
I'm going to be responsible here and not disclose the things that I read and saw. I will describe them to you. The specific time of a future attack.
Liar! So Jeffrey Goldberg, who made up the losers and suckers hoax, lied again. I know you're shocked.
So the reason to post it is because I think people should see for themselves. They're saying nothing happened. I'm saying that this represents a serious breach in national security and communications. And so, you know what? That's what journalism is for. Here, go look at it for yourselves and decide if this represented a serious breach of secrecy and national security.
So Goldberg exaggerated what was in the group chat, saying that it was too sensitive and dangerous for public viewing, but then was like, well, I'm going to post it anyway, to let the American public decide how serious it was. Sure, okay.
Men and women could have died. They were on combat missions when this information was flying around a Signal app. I mean, they were wrong for even being on that unsecure app.
Now, I'm not a national security expert, but I don't see how any of this very vague information could or would put any of our troops at risk.
Listen, man. When I was a kid, swimming off the Santa Maria, I once got a condom stuck to my face. Horror like that stays with you for life. Believe that.
I have a confession to make. I'm blind.
No shit.
Yeah. Although I've trained my other senses to a point where you wouldn't notice my handicap, in the water, they'd be quite useless.
All right, Woozy, relax. Don't beat yourself up about it. Look, I'll do it.
The journalists that they have been maligning now for 2 days handled it with incredible discretion.
That's a fucking joke, right? I mean, according to Goldberg's account of events, On Tuesday, March 11th, I received a connection request on Signal from a user identified as Michael Waltz. Then Goldberg says, I accepted the connection request, hoping that this was the actual national security advisor and that he wanted to chat about Ukraine or Iran or some other important matter. 2 days later, Goldberg received a notice that he was to be included in a Signal chat called the Houthi PC Small Group. So hang on, Goldberg received a connection request from Mike Waltz and then over the next 2 days, never thought to respond? I think just about anyone would be curious enough to say, hey Mike, heard that you reached out. What's going on? But the fact that Goldberg didn't do that is highly suspect.
They're not friends. They are not even really colleagues. He's a journalist. His job is to write stories on him. He's not his friend. He's not catching up with them. Waltz is an official. He's a government official. He doesn't have time to have just side conversations with random people on Signal. Maybe if something huge happened, he would try to get in contact with them directly about something, but being invited into a group chat, there's a good chance you're not going to say anything because you don't know what's going on. You want to find out more before you say something. He added himself. He had someone in Waltz's staffing that added him. What's going on? I don't understand the suspicion here.
Goldberg went on to explain that the term Principals Committee generally refers to a group of the most senior national security officials, including the Secretaries of Defense, State, and the Treasury, as well as the Director of the CIA. So even though he is not a White House official, not only did he stay in the chat, but he never bothered to reach out to Michael Waltz or anyone and say, why am I invited to the chat? Is this a mistake?
Why would he do that? He didn't know what was going on yet. He got invited, he got added, and then people were talking about some plans. Why would he interrupt by asking questions? He just got invited to it. Maybe they wanted him to know this. He was interested in what they were saying. It's not his fault that he could hear the conversation. They invited him to it. Why are you trying to put it on him?
I mean, he claims, I didn't think it could be real. But at the same time, he accepted the connection request hoping that it was real. So Jeffrey Goldberg, a journalist, wasn't sure that it was real. But he never bothered to get confirmation that it was real from Mike Waltz or anyone at the White House.
Is that 2 hours before strikes happen in Yemen, he gets texts from people that are alleging to be national, officials. What are the chances? And then these strikes actually happen. Pretty good chance that shit's real.
Makes sense to me. What's your problem? It should go without saying, but I'll say it anyway, that I have never been invited to a White House Principals Committee meeting, and that in my many years of reporting on national security matters, I had never heard of one being convened over a commercial messaging app. An app, by the way, that was approved for White House use by the Biden administration.
Thanks, Obama.
But again, Jeffrey Goldberg knew that he was added to this group by mistake.
It was him. It was his fault. He shouldn't have been there, even though someone invited him and he had no context of what was going on. It's his fault. He should be for blaming, not the guy that added him that's, head of security or anything.
This could have, instead of being Jeffrey Goldberg, it could have been somebody entirely different, and the results could have been devastating.
How? Let's assume for a moment that Michael Waltz made a mistake and punched in the wrong name. Do you think that there is anyone in his contact list who could have put our troops at risk and done harm regarding the mission?
I just learned a secret. It's a honey. It's a pip. But the enemy is listening, so I'll never let it slip. 'Cause when I learn a secret, boy, I zipper up my lip. Now, the military secret that I carry in my brain, I keep in safe deposit with a padlock and chain. You bet I got a secret. Oh, and I bet we find it out. The soldier's got a secret, but I bet we find it out. Hello, Ma. I got a secret. I can only drop a tip. Don't breathe a word to no one, but I'm going on a trip. Shh. Don't breathe a word to no one, but he's going on a trip. Hey, give me some magazines to read for when I'm on the ship. Don't breathe a word to no one, but he's going to go by ship. It's a cinch to keep a secret if a fella just takes care. He's sailing on a troop ship. Now we got to find out where. I'm a sound and silent soldier, just as steady as a rock. Here's to my little secret with its chain and padlock. Say you're a nifty trick. I hope I meet some babes in Africa as cute as you are. This message is important. I must fly a double trick. It's been a wonderful evening, and I'd like to stay some more. But I gotta get a move on now. I sail at 4:30. He's got to get a move on now. He sails at 4:30. Hey, the troop ship bound for Africa pulls out at 4:30. Calling all Wolfpack. Calling all Wolfpack. The transport ship for Africa pulls out at 4:30. Hail!
If you're an honest person, the answer is no. But then again, CNN is really trying to make the case that what Pete Hegseth and Mike Waltz posted in what was supposed to be a private chat damaged our over-the-horizon intelligence methods.
How did he get in that chat? It's almost like someone didn't do their job. That's odd. It's odd that you're blaming the journalist and not the guy that failed to ensure security.
But offering the Houthis sort of a clear breadcrumb to figure out how the U.S. was surveilling them might allow them to avoid that surveillance in the future. Then in a second text from National Security Advisor Michael Waltz later in the thread, he tells the group after the strikes are done that the U.S., quote, had positive ID of a particular senior Houthi leader, quote, walking into his girlfriend's building. This, again, really kind of draws a roadmap for Houthi militants in terms of how the U.S. was conducting surveillance on their movements, on their leadership, again, making it easier for Houthi leaders to potentially avoid that kind of surveillance in the future. This is why, according to our sources, this kind of information is normally kept deeply, deeply classified.
Of course, they wouldn't have been able to read them had the texts not been published by The Atlantic, but CNN didn't come to that conclusion.
If he didn't post it, no one would have been able to get this information. But I think the fact that he announced that he was added to this group chat and that there's initial denial that it happened, and then they said that there were no war plans, has drawn it out to where it became necessary to have these out in public.
I want people to be safe, and I want to make sure that our military doesn't die from another potential leak like this.
I'm sorry, nobody died from this. A.
Well,
B.
They were put at risk. They were
previous-
absolutely put at risk. CNN sources say that.
I mean, how much accountability was meted out upon the previous administration when people did actually die? Zero.
Correct.
This is two different things. This has nothing to do with the other. You can be mad at both. I mean, I was mad at both. I don't see why we would leave all that gear. And most people that got killed was because we were withdrawing and they knew they could take advantage of it. This had nothing to do with leaks of information.
No one got fired for the botched withdrawal of Afghanistan. In fact, no one ever got fired in the Biden administration for anything. Remember when Lloyd Austin disappeared to have surgery and didn't tell anybody?
Did you demand Lloyd Austin? Did you demand Lloyd Austin? Yeah, but did you demand Lloyd Austin's resignation when he was out of pocket for 2 weeks and didn't tell anyone in the White House till 4 days afterwards that he was not in charge of as Secretary of Defense?
I called out I called that out as inappropriate behavior.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
We can all agree that all of these are bad. We should have a very high standard for our elected officials and those that are appointed by the government. With that said, that they're both bad, there's nothing more I can say about this video. He clearly has failed to think critically about the actual missions and how they're carried out and how they can be stopped.